a white room with black curtains in the station. Black roof country, no gold pavements, tired starlings. Silver horses ran down moonbeams in your dark eyes. Dawnlight smiles on you leaving my contentment. I'll wait in this place where the sun never shines. Oh, I'll wait in this place where the shadows run from themselves. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Unrelenting Alchemist, where we talk about the spiritual topics you need to hear about. You are the severity of the divine. On this sacred path, you walk with self-trust, with firm boundaries, and you ascend. O child of Sophia, she has words of wisdom for you today. There comes a time in every life when clarity burns through the fog of past choices, jobs, situations, relationships, expectations. A moment when you stop questioning whether you did enough for others and you start asking, did you ever do enough for yourself? I have lived my life very imperfectly, quite messily, but truthfully. I have followed the best understanding of what I needed to do at each moment, even when that understanding was evolving. For I am human. My spirit may be eternal, but within this mortal frame there are limitations. Even when the path was dark, especially when no one else understood, I made my mistakes, but they were mine. I followed my intuition, and it was not always logic. Heart, not always reason. And what I've learned is this. You owe no second chances to people who were exceptionally cruel when it counted. Oh yes, there are so many people in our past who took us for granted. Bosses, co-workers, lovers, friends, associates, comrades. People who were committed to misunderstanding you. You owe no softness to those who showed you their sharpest edges without remorse. The truth is this. You owe nothing to these bloodsuckers who fed on your light while mocking your flame. And the most sacred act you can now perform is to keep on rising anyway. Because as you leave that situation and you move on with courage into the unknown, you stop looking back. You did what you could with what you knew. And there's a myth in this world that says, unless you end relationships in perfect harmony, unless you forgive everyone flawlessly, unless you leave every room smiling, then you are somewhat broken. And that's an absolute and utter lie. The truth is, you did what you could with what you knew at the time, and you have nothing to be ashamed of. There were moments when you gave more than you had. There were moments when you explained yourself too many times. How many people come up to you and was like, whoa, that was trash. And you know what? You took that. You were hoping that people would meet you where you stood. You were hoping they'd give to you like you gave to them. And when they didn't, you still tried. You hoped. You dared. You gave the benefit of the doubt. You believed in potential. You trusted your own capacity to love as if maybe it could heal cruelty inflicted by someone else. And that was noble, and it was more than enough. But now you realize you don't need to prove your goodness to anyone. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. You're not looking for external validation. Where love is not returned, where peace is not possible, where your presence is consumed and not cherished, there is no shame in walking away from what made you question your own light. Because the truth is, they're not giving to you like you gave to them. So don't look back. Second chances are sacred. They are bridges, not obligations. and not everyone deserves to cross them. You see, when you move on to bigger and better places, now the people will look at you and say, what did I let slip through my fingers? Those bosses who didn't think you would ever amount to anything. And yet here you are, doing better than everyone. They were dehumanizing you. You weren't struggling. They were weaponizing your empathy, your hope, your softness, because you had a kind, caring heart. You gave grace to people who mistook it for weakness. You offered understanding to those who laughed behind your back and told other people, it's lame. You stayed silent. You didn't call them out. You didn't embarrass them in front of others. And yet your silence was treated as some sense of guilt? No. What were you guilty of? Of being a good person? These people revealed their true colors, not just in moments of your pain, but in the ease with which they disregarded your feelings and your concerns. And so that's the thing, right? What goes around comes around. And when someone's proven they're comfortable betraying you, belittling you, bruising your soul, you don't owe them a thing. You don't owe them a path back into your life. And that's not bitterness. That is firm, healthy boundaries. You owe nothing to the people committed to misunderstanding you. You gave your best shot. And some people just don't like you. And they just don't understand you. They were never really your friend. They wanted to twist your truth to make themselves feel superior. They wanted to see you through the lens of their projections. Because they saw you clearly, they would have to confront their own shadows. And they weren't ready to do that. They're too tired to do that. They're too lazy to do that. Let them go. The people who constantly need you to explain yourself, to justify your actions, to prove your worth, they're going to twist reality to whatever version of it that they want to see and hear. They're never the bad guy. They're always the victim. And they're always seeking control. You've done the work on your part. You've opened your heart. You've explained your why. But these people want more because all they want is control. They never see themselves as the villain, ever. Ever. They will rewrite reality to show that life treated them unfairly. But your energy is precious. Spend it where it is well received, not where you are tolerated. And don't become part of somebody's story to use your blessings to make themselves seem better in front of others. You no longer need to be committed to caring. You just have to keep ascending because they're going to watch you rise and you're going to leave them behind and they're going to say, man, that's dumb luck. Man, I don't see how. They don't deserve it. And they think you're arrogant. And they never saw the nights you wept alone. They never saw the struggling you went through. Their suffering is always more than your suffering. You say you went through this and that. They'll say, oh, well, at least, okay, you lost like your whole family, but at least your whole family loved you up to the point they died. Like, seriously? When you lose your family, you'll lose your family. Well, my family's around. They treat me like crap. It doesn't matter. Everyone's suffering is their own. We don't need to do struggle comparisons. That's childlike and idiotic. Everyone has their own path to follow. God doesn't make it easy for anybody. People think that everybody else's burden is lighter, but it's not. Ascension is not just spiritual, it's structural. You take the bold leap. You know no guts, no glory. You know no courage. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. You took a chance on yourself. They just went to just drown their sorrows and go somewhere so they could feel good all the time. They just want to feel good. But you went through those heartbreaking moments. You had courage. And there's a reason why the rearview mirror is smaller than the windshield. Your destiny is not behind you. The temptation to check in on those who left you behind, resist it at all costs. Because you don't need to think about these people. You don't need to reopen the wounds. You don't need to keep tending to something that is long gone. Don't look back. Not out of pride, but out of self-respect. Because when you're gone, you're gone. How will people ever respect you if you don't show them what your absence really is? Don't rewrite what they were with better intentions that they ever had. Don't create softness where all they gave you was cruelty and sharpness. Don't invent growth on their part where there's only been silence, they've done nothing, and all they're doing is enjoying their life because they feel that life is cruel and unfair, so might as well just party it up. No, you understand that your life is what you make it. They chose their tone, they chose their distance, they chose their words, they chose their absence. Those people just want to coast on by. Well, let them do what will ever be done. God and them have a plan for their life. You focus on the plan for your life. You don't need to endure their process at your expense. You're not here to save anyone. You're certainly not Captain Save-A-Ho. Is that the term they use? Non-attachment is best. Non-attachment is not the same as detachment. It's not cold, it's not apathy, it's peace. It's the ability to witness what once hurt you, what once broke you, without flinching. When you think of the memories, you no longer cry. You no longer feel anything but clarity. You remember that it was a lesson. You have gratitude to the divine because you realize your life is a blessing and it's full of a lot of lessons. But it's not always going to be the good times. There are going to be the bad times for your education. I don't need closure to close the door. I don't need an apology to be free. I don't need to convince anyone of anything to behold, and neither do you need to do that for others. That doesn't mean you don't love people. That doesn't mean you don't cling to certain things, but you've learned to put it where it belongs. It doesn't mean that you never think of the past. It just means you don't live there, because guess what? You need to live in your present and worry about your future. You don't need to go back in the past because the past has already happened. It's not going to change. The world wants to pull you back into the cycle, pull you back into the storm. You don't have time for that nonsense or foolishness. You have places to go. Prior experiences were lessons, not life sentences. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every silence, every departure, all of it was a lesson. Don't think about those miserable people and where they are now, because that's exactly what they earn themselves. Misery. Who you trust? Well, you know what? Don't think of yourself as small. The closure that you find in solitude will help you to grow to where you need to be. Put permanent distance between yourself and those past hurtful events. And yeah, it hurt, but you did the healing, and every scar became a map. Every tear watered the soil of your growth, and every disappointment became an initiation. And you have become stronger, wiser, more intuitive, sharper. You're still in a way kinder, but you're not naive. You know now that there are just some folks that are just manipulative, and that's fine too. You became you, and you can move forward without dragging the dead weight of people who never had the capacity to truly hold your heart. You have nothing to prove anymore to anyone, to all the small co-workers who talked about you behind your back, to the cruel bosses that never gave you a break, to all the ex-friends who betrayed you when you needed them most, to the ex-lovers who you counted on but didn't love you in the same way in return. Not anymore. Now you know. Those who are meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself. If you have to hurt yourself to go above and beyond for others, you're doing it wrong. You no longer need to perform worthiness. You are worthy. You've always been worthy. You don't need to chase after anyone, especially those who make you feel like you're not enough, like you need to give more. You don't need to give anything. You know why? Because when you're in the right situation where each does for the other, you'll know. And you'll know that you don't feel all the time like you're being taken advantage of. You don't feel all the time like you've been let down. You'll know. You've come too far to dim now. You've done too much to go quiet. Just because God gave you gifts, talents, and your light shines brightly, don't worry about whether it unsettles those who are trapped in their own shadows. Shine anyway. Jealousy, envy is a thing. Even if it makes people uncomfortable, even if they don't understand, if they were really your people, they would love you for who you are, not try to make you shrink yourself so that they don't feel uncomfortable. You have changed. That's the whole point. Let your light be the signal to others who are fighting their way out. Let your peace be the protest against chaos. Let your joy be the rebellion. And the people who will admire you will admire you. It'll be total strangers admiring you versus the friends who always wanted to belittle you or make you shrink or seem small. Oh, why do you have to do that? Why are you always showing off? You pulled yourself through hell and you still held compassion in your palms. That's your legacy. And you don't need to shrink yourself, child of Sophia. Never. You ascend because you refuse to settle. You're not angry. You're not resentful. You are walking severity. Because God did not put everyone on this earth to be everyone's joy and peace. Sometimes you may find yourself pitted against other people. That's okay. You don't need to shrink yourself to somehow make peace with them. You walk with knowing, with sacred stillness, with the fire of every lesson, with the clarity of every exit that you didn't want but ultimately needed. They just don't like you, they just don't like you. Move on. Hold your head up. Walk your path in peace. Speak when it's time to speak. You have nothing to apologize for. Shine without apology. You are gifted, you are blessed, and the divine wants you front and center. Not shrinking yourself for all of your immature friends who can't be happy for you, because Severe One, Child of Sophia, never ever look back. Because you, my little star, were never meant to live among those who dim on purpose. You were born to rise, and now you're rising, leaving all of the flying monkeys in the dust. Resigned to their severity. You are glorious. You are ruthless. But in that ruthlessness is compassion. You're unapologetic, and you're going to rise all the way home. Thank you for joining me in this sacred hour. This has been the Unrelenting Alchemist. Until next time, walk wisely, walk bravely, and when the dark calls, answer not with fear, but with fire. And if I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I love you.